Hey Slayers, welcome to Slayer Media Reviews, where we'll be discussing all things film, books, music, gaming, and more for readers and fans of every genre and category you can possibly think of. I'm author Pia Syrian.
And I'm resident cinemaphile Jake.
And together we'll review and debate the amazing and not so amazing things we have the pleasure to watch, read, or listen to, instead of just talking to each other. You're invited to this organized chaos, so fasten your seatbelts, get comfortable, and let's dive in.
Hey Slayers, welcome to the first official Slayer podcast. This is, I know, right? It's a little bit different than the Empress podcasts that we have simultaneously releasing, as opposed to reading stories that we enjoy or that we are actively putting out on our platform. We're just going to be talking about the things that we enjoy, what we perceive in the industry, just sort of an op-ed in that sense, if you would.
Yeah, to echo that, I think you and I both share this really incredible love of media, like movies, entertainment.
Oh, all
of
forms, yeah.
Yeah,
all forms. And all the different little things that you see on screen, all the different little script writing techniques and how things are shown that way. So that's going to be a majority of sort of what we're talking about here. So yeah, let's jump right on in.
Yeah.
Is there anything you wanna start with?
This week we're celebrating our first release of our podcast, Empress Fiction. What do you think? Did you listen to that? Of course, you listened to the episode. You were there, but
I edit the
you
episode.
edited. You listened to it.
I edit the whole thing. I had to listen to it probably 8 times over.
Yeah. You know, it's a learning curve with things like this, but I think we're doing something really extraordinary. And for our first-time listeners, Empress Fiction is a podcast where we just go over stories that we absolutely adore and that we publish through Slayer Publishing, the group that we organized because your girl got sick and tired of the publishing industry.
Mm-hmm.
And realizing that, you know, they're just not for authors the way that they should be for authors. And just finding that creativity was greatly undervalued.
And it's so funny, too, because, like, with the publishing industry, because you brought it to my attention, just trying to get published that way, it's every creative industry right now is just, I mean, it feels like it's just gridlocked. So that's what we hope to do with Slayer down the road outside of just publishing. We're hoping to get into all sorts of different mediums, short stories, maybe film down the road. But for now, we're going to try to help out the wonderful authors and creators the best we can.
Yeah. And to your point, I think everything just seems to be behind a paywall, which is so unfortunate because most of the world is struggling right now. And it just feels like in media, if you don't have the money to enjoy things, you're locked out. You're priced out. It's like with going to the bookstores, and of course, not to underplay anybody's writing or anything like that, but sometimes $25, $30 for one book is just exorbitant.
And to elaborate, to add there too, because as of recording, there's a lot of talk about what you own media-wise and what you do not own, because so much now is just streamed, or like with Kindle, you're just kind of renting it. Mm-hmm. I know there's like video games too. Sony's kind of in that space where people are worried about what games you do and don't own with digital download, and it just really doesn't seem like a good environment to be a creative currently.
Right. It's you either become an economic vampire yourself, or you have to assume all of the risks because people are making money off of your content, off of your lifeline, like the thing that drives you, your passion. I think for the longest time, what really struck me when I was trying to get traditionally published was the amount of vulnerability it takes to share your craft and to push it towards companies and then get, you know, canned responses on why they don't want your material.
Just the auto-scripted stuff.
Right.
Sorry, we're not looking for X, Y, and Z right now. Please try again later. Yeah.
Right. And it's not anything to do with your writing. It's because they can't figure out how to make money off of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the most curdling thing to me, because I presented them with a story, like, not to toot my own horn, is a lot of great authors who have self-published as well have had massive success, even though they were denied time and time again. I remember seeing somebody write a tweet that they were denied like 600 times or something like that. It should not take that much to put your work out into the universe where it belongs, where it can be appreciated and where it can be shared.
And there shouldn't only be, to elaborate on that too, there shouldn't only be two options in this space, being
Right.
You either pay to have your book published through a company and you come out of pocket, or you play the roulette and get lucky enough to be published through an alternate company.
So they can make money off you instead,
Exactly.
where you see a tenth of what you're actually making.
Exactly.
It is so extreme and predatory, and even now as we're talking about it, I just feel like myself getting angry about it. And because for so long, I based my self-worth off the responses that I was getting, and that's because you dedicate your life to something and you want it to be appreciated, at the very least acknowledged.
Mm-hmm.
And to feel so invisible and to be told, basically, I can't market this, so better luck somewhere else where they think they can make money off of you, because we can't. It's just obnoxious.
And it's one of those things too, where like going into Slayer and starting this, because it was your idea, you presented it to me, and I immediately saw, like, for you it was, let's find a way into the book space, and for me it was let's just find a way into the entertainment space, period. Yeah. Because like what we've seen, and I take a lot of inspiration from like A24 as a distribution company for film that way, just being that it's not that your stories, your books can't make money, it's that these companies don't want to take on the risk. They want something that's safe. They want something that is, run of the mill. They've sold it before. They know it's going to sell.
Right.
So, like with A24, producing and publishing movies that are just way out there. Midsummer, Uncut Gems is another one. Hereditary. Just these movies that otherwise wouldn't be picked up.
Media disruptors.
Exactly.
Really.
Yeah, and it's so funny to me, because like you look at their track record and everything, and I know that their vetting process is aggressive, but you look at their track list and it's bangers across the board. These are all stories that otherwise wouldn't have been given the opportunity, that were given the opportunity. They're incredible. They're great. And for us, I really want to be sort of that shining beacon, per se, in the space that we exist. So right now it's going to be published stories. In the near future, hopefully, it's short stories and maybe like graphic novels down the road, like you were saying, film and media. I just want to be that safe space for creators is really the point of like what we are trying to do with this.
Right, where your work is cherished and appreciated and seen. And even if it's not something that, because as a publishing company, you can only do so much, right? We can't say everything about how else we can assist in that way quite yet, but in the future, we're hoping to have a way where even, or maybe it's your first time publishing, you just have different avenues of success to build that confidence so you can share your work with the world.
Because at the end of the day, that's the most important thing, is that your voice is heard.
Yes.
Everyone is out to... everyone has their voice, everyone has their thoughts and their feelings, and to be told time and time again, you're turned down by a publishing company, or you didn't get the opportunity to, pitch that film script or whatever, it's like you were saying earlier, it's kind of being told that your ideas aren't worth the time of day.
Right.
And I don't think anyone should just be turned away like that. That's disrespectful to the creators. It's disrespectful to the community. Everything should be given a chance.
Right, because even if we can't give you the traditional publishing avenue, we're going to figure out how to get your work out there and get it appreciated. That's the point of the Slayer community. Is this is your resource. You come here for your resource on how you're going to get your creation out into the world. Because
be it us, be it other means, we're not trying to stonewall people ourselves. We're trying to set up, like you were saying, a community filled with resources, filled with avenues and ways and just different alternatives to maybe you don't want to publish through us, but we want to be able to give you the means and the resources to at least publish through who you want to be published through.
Right.
We want to give you the opportunity.
Yeah, because no shade to the traditional publishing industry.
Not at all.
It works and it's worked for a long time, but right now it is,
like most things, just really intolerably aggressive.
Yes, but right now it's only working for a certain group of people. You feel me? I'm going to say it. Okay, I'm going to say it. It's only working for a certain group of people. And people of color are not included in that. And me, being a person of color, being an author, being a creator, it's one of the first things I noticed was there were all these notices on traditional publishing websites about wanting to hire more people of color authors, things like that. And to submit your work under certain hashtags and things like that. And I've done that and gotten absolutely no response or nothing in return, and then going through their authors list even months later, supposedly long after some of these things have been in process, and still seeing the same list of white authors and additional white authors. And it just tells me and tells a lot of people that your story as a person of color does not matter as much because it's not safe. Because there isn't an audience for you, because there's only certain types of readers in this world, and that's not correct. And I think with Slayer, my prime goal, and I'm sure you share this too, is everyone that comes across us, I want your voice to be heard. Do you know how important it is? Do you know how empty and colorless our world would be without disruptors, without people who really spoke to their passions and put energy back into the universe that designed them? There is no humanity. There is no creation without ingenuity, without risk.
And to elaborate on that too, I was thinking, so we had dinner with my parents.
Yes, we did.
And my father brought up a point being that, the machines, the AI, he's real. Yeah, he's real freaked out about that. And he said something that I thought was really funny. He said, find a niche, find something that cannot be replaced by machinery, by robots. And I think in this day and age right now, the creative space is so important, being, artists, being writers, being directors, these people who have these creative visions, these creative voices who are being put down, like you were saying, are absolutely the most irreplaceable people in our society. Everything that we know, everything that we do, everything we base our lives around is, there are these stories and these lessons that have been written down and passed down and taught through generations. The creatives of the world are so important. And they're just not being given the space that they need right now.
Right. Yeah, because corporations own the entirety of it, and they don't want to assume risk with you, and that's not fair.
All right, but enough of the serious.
Yeah, definitely enough of the serious.
Yeah, enough of the serious stuff. Let's get into I want to try something out. Because we watch so many movies. We read so many stories and books and everything. What is one particular piece that stood out to you the last week or so? Something you consumed, something you read, something you watched. And these are, let me note, entirely unsponsored as of right now. So if we mention anything that's not our creation, it's solely on the idea that we just enjoyed it, or we had something to say about it.
Yeah. Okay, I have a perfect one. You ready? So we've been on an 80s kick.
Ooh.
We've been on an 80s kick, and right now we are loving my girl Sigourney Weaver, okay? Alien. Yes. To be such big media people, we had never seen Alien before.
No, it's funny because I'd never seen Alien, but I saw Prometheus when it came out, and that was a mistake, because I had absolutely no idea what the hell was happening. The fucking octopus thing, no clue. But we've been watching Alien. We rewatched Prometheus the other night. I finally understood it.
Okay.
I finally got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And one, she did that. Good for you, Sigourney. She did that.
Oh, she killed it.
She killed it. Okay. She was like, I told you, mother effers, don't get up in this plane. Please contaminate it, and they did anyway. Nobody listened to her. It was just this lady with her cat. Okay. And obviously, these are not spoilers. This movie's been out since the 80s. If you haven't seen it yet, go see it. But in watching Prometheus and watching, what was intended to be the prequel, which I fell asleep on. I'm not going to lie. I fell asleep. My favorite part was not watching Prometheus. It was the next morning when I went, oh crap, how did Prometheus end? Can you tell me? And Jake gave the best reiteration of a story I've ever heard in my life. He probably made it 10 times more exciting than it actually was.
And it's so funny too, because I was just thinking about that yesterday after too, is because I put a lot of thought into movies after I watch them. It's just how my brain is. But I was thinking about it being that the concept of the movie, what happened in the movie, was so incredible. I personally think watching it through after having seen Alien and knowing the context, I think it's like a solid 8 out of 10 movie conceptually. I think that what really weighed it down for me watching it was it just kind of lingered in spots where it didn't need to linger. Because there were, like I was saying, there were a ton of interesting points presented, and there were scenes in the movie that were really, really enticing. There were a lot of suspenseful scenes. There were a lot of, I guess you could say kind of action-y-esque scenes that made the movie really enjoyable. But I wish those scenes had just stuck around a little bit longer. We lingered too much on the scenes where it was, chit-chat for chit-chat's sake, and it just kind of made the movie drag. That being said, I did enjoy it.
I thought from what I was watching, which obviously from where you picked up in retelling the story, I fell asleep when it was just getting good. But I thought it left a lot to be desired. I felt like maybe because it was working in tandem with Alien, the parallel of the movie, we were doing the same thing a little bit too much, you know what I mean? Paying too much of an homage to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, we've seen it. We know the beginning of Alien. If you're here, you probably know. So I just feel like it left it a little shallow in the beginning, and that's probably why I went to sleep, because I was like, it's for the birds, and I love to sleep.
And, to kind of add to it, too, I just read a thing that I think it's Paramount or one of those streaming services is doing a Alien prequel TV series that essentially retcons Prometheus and changes it from what Prometheus made it back to the alien super predator thing. But I mean, I thought it was fine. I agree with what she said, but I thought it was okay.
What's something that we watched or listened to this week that you think really stuck out to you?
Oh my goodness gracious, it wasn't this week, but it happened before recording, so I'm going to talk about it, give a little context. It was right around Christmas time, and a lot of people were talking about the new Miyazaki movie, The Boy and the Heron, and how incredible it was, and I'm an anime fan. I love anime. You are an anime fan. You love anime.
Mm-hmm.
And hearing people talk about how The Boy and the Heron was this, that, and the other thing, sort of the peak of Miyazaki's directorial career, it made me realize that I, against better judgment, have not watched all of the Miyazaki movies. So we started watching them.
No.
Yes.
No!
And we watched Totoro.
Yeah, we did.
And Totoro was fine. Totoro was cute. And I understand the history of what Totoro was, being the double showing with that and Grave of the Fireflies. And, I get the purpose of it when it originally came out. I thought it was fine. I thought it was a cutesy little, jump to the next movie. We wanted something a little more serious.
My God.
We watched, for the very first time, Princess Mononoke, which, if you have not watched it, you need to go watch it. It is life-changing. It is incredible.
Be prepared to hate every corporation and deforestation.
Oh, you're most likely just going to hate humanity as a whole.
You're going to be like, you dirty motherfuckers. You're going to be enraged.
Oh, yeah. And, just watching it through, I thought it was truly one of the most beautiful movies that I had seen, not just animation-wise, if you know Miyazaki, you know his work ethic, you know that he, along with his team, do put out incredible works.
Bangers.
Yeah, absolute bangers. And they're all hand-animated for a majority of the films, which just adds to the beauty of it. But, yeah, it just truly incredible from a plot standpoint. It kind of going back to what you were saying, it really made me appreciate the beauty of the world. And that's not to say that I don't love looking out the window and seeing trees and grass and all that good old stuff. I greatly appreciate the planet, but it gave me a different perspective. It gave me a different appreciation of the space that we occupy. And because I'm trying to get into photography. I'm slowly. I just got a camera a few weeks ago, and I'm taking pictures, and I'm doing this, that, and the other thing. So all the fun little pictures you see on the Slayer page are taken by me. Yeah.
Yeah, he got a camera for Christmas. I got a fur coat.
Yeah. Yeah. So to add to, if anyone has any recommendations, please feel free. I'm looking for all sorts of inspiration and tips because, again, starting photographer, never done it before. I am open to recommendations. If you send us a DM on our Instagram or wherever with tips and tricks, feel free to. But yeah, no, going back to it, it just just a whole new appreciation on the world and life.
So the basic theme of it really was, I think, conservation.
Use what you need.
Use what you need. You don't need everything. And that goes back to our mission statement, too, for Slayer.
Mm-hmm.
Was for such a long time, all you heard was, especially through marketing, everywhere. You see it absolutely everywhere. TikTok, Instagram, people pay for marketing. I myself have paid, for marketing and things like that, because you want as many people to see your product, your work, as possible. But there's a switch that happens inside you when I feel like you're awakening, really, to your true purpose, where you go, I don't need everyone. I don't need everything. I don't need absolutely everything in this life. What I need is what is meant for me. Who I need to reach are my people. I don't have to reach everyone. I don't have to resonate with everyone. I just need to promote and inspire the people that my message resonates with. And I think with Mononoke, it was just, you don't need everything in this life to be happy, to be satisfied. And when you make mistakes, there is very often an opportunity to come back from them, but that doesn't erase, what happened in the past. Your past is still your past, but you get to move on with a different outlook, knowing a little bit more than you did before, and take that with you, carry it with you, and.
And I'm just going to add to that, being that that's kind of the lesson of the week is what I'm going to call it. Just being that your past mistakes do not make you who you are today. If you can learn from your mistakes and move on from the past, understand that who you are now is not who you were then, and just accept the mistakes you made. If even a third of the planet did that, we would be in a better world. If people just accepted, like, you could have been a horrible person 10 years ago, but people do change, people do reform, and that all comes with acceptance. And that was, I do, think that was one of the big themes for the movie too, is just like, yes, you made mistakes, yes, you've done bad things, but accept where you are and try to be better.
Right.
And to spin into another medium, just on that same subject, God of War. God of War, Ragnarok, the free DLC that they dropped a few weeks ago, Valhalla, i.e. Kratos' therapy session, that deals with the same subjects, just being, yes, and that's the reason it purged it, of course, is if you haven't played it, if you haven't watched it, highly, highly, highly recommend. But the general idea behind it was that Kratos, being the god of war, known for taking out pantheons of gods just relentlessly, was able to learn from his past and grow and become something greater than the perceivable monster that he had been up to that point. And that just all comes through acceptance and growth. And it's not easy, of course. If you go through therapy, it's not easy. But it's something that, even if you don't think you'll benefit from it, at least give it a chance. Just open yourself up to the idea of accepting, and it makes a world of difference.
I think, to your point, a lot of us have learned to be very defensive, especially because we're Xennials. We're caught between, the younger millennials, the older Gen Zers, and with us, I feel like we've become so numb to a lot of things because we have grown so defensive around our souls. I feel like we were born in a time where society was really shifting and we were kind of left out in the cold, and kind of got the short end of the stick of a lot of things. The economy, jobs, being told we had to go to university, that there's no other way, you can succeed unless you're doing X, Y, and Z. And we were told to have all of these constraints on ourselves when we were so young. So it made us feel like we could not step out of that. And I feel like now a lot of us are trying to reclaim that time that we lost because we weren't allowed to be, children. Or we weren't allowed to pursue the things that we wanted in life. Like I grew up with, I think my mom's a Gen Xer.
Mm-hmm.
I think my mom's a Gen...
Yeah.
But whatever she is, she grew up with constraints, right? And so I inherited that from her, all of these constraints on how she was told a lady had to behave, had to look, to feel loved, to be appreciated. And it was when it got to me where I was like, this is kind of fucked up. This is kind of bullshit. Like, what do you mean? I can't be loved just as I am. It was the, you can't play video games because you're a girl. That's for boys. You can only play with the girl Bionicle, things like that. And even now, I'm still discovering things that I shut myself off of because my mother said it was not fit for a person who looked like me, sounded like me, to do or to love. And it wasn't until I met you in high school where the doors kind of bust all the way open because we've known each other a long time, since we were 14.
Oh, yeah.
And I just kind of went one day, I'm so sick of living my life by the designs of other people. I'm so sick of putting these constraints on myself and on my soul and blocking myself from what I truly want to do. So from a young age, I started writing. I knew I always loved writing, but I obviously started writing some, cringy romantic fan fiction-y things.
The Twilight fan fiction.
Okay. But I never wrote a Twilight fanfiction. Hold on. Let's get the record correct. Like, I was not that kind of girl. I'll be honest with you. I've never written fanfiction. The only thing that I have written were original romance stories. One even featuring you, Jake. Do you remember me telling you that?
I do.
Yeah, so, and now he's my husband, ladies and gentlemen. So, I think that was manifestation. But you start to discover, now that we're older, that you can do all of these things in life is so much freer than you believe it is. And it's so hard to look up and realize that because you've been looking down, you've been hustling, you've been grinding because you have to make money. You absolutely cannot survive without money. You really have to learn to appreciate the design around you and try to take yourself out of that hustle mindset. And of course, that's not going to come without sacrifice, right? And without shift. But it's worth it. It's worth it. Because I had to pull myself from that hustle mindset so that way I could reconnect with my passion fully and what my true dream was. Because when I sat down and went, traditional publishing is not working out for me and I'm going crazy trying to discover why, and then realizing the only reason why I wanted to traditionally publish was because I was told that's how you make money as an author. And because I felt the financial burden of society on me. And it wasn't until I went, I have to forge my own path, I have to do my own thing because it's killing my passion, that I went, that was never my dream at all. My dream, start a publishing firm, start a publishing company, and help not just myself, because traditional publishing, really, you can only help yourself and help yourself so much, right? But to help creators reach their audience, to reach their people, and to feel that your work is seen in such a valued and loved way that you deserve. And that comes from inheriting the emotional burdens that our parents gave us, their parents gave them, right? Because eventually the generational trauma, because eventually one of you has to look up and say, okay, no more. Like, I'm not doing it anymore. And that's why my mom and I didn't have the best relationship when I was younger, because I had to look up and say, it's killing me to try to live like you. It is killing me to try to be loved the way you want to love me. I want to be loved the way I want to love me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had to stop trying to live by her design and start going off of what I felt and knew in my heart, which is why I stepped out of so many traditional practices, because it just wasn't made for me. Each one of us, it's so cheesy to say that, each one of us is unique, really, really, really. And not every process is going to be right for you. So why the heck are we strapping ourselves to the designs of companies that give us an A or a B? I'm sorry.
How do you keep getting so anarchist? Oh my god.
Listen, you married me for a reason. You knew I was for the people. Okay?
God. How did you?
I'm FUBU, baby. For us by us.
I keep trying to pull it a little back, and you keep.
I'm so tired of these companies. I'm so tired of these companies.
Goodness.
Yeah. I feel like we've covered so much in this little episode. I don't think we really came in with a plan. especially
We
with
absolutely did not.
we didn't.
We did not.
And
It
the
is
Slayer podcast is
Sunday afternoon. We were sitting on the couch watching TV, and you literally went, "Hey, let's go record an episode."
yeah.
So absolutely no plan whatsoever aside from just really getting the foundation of what we want this particular podcast to look like. Being it's us talking and intertwining our love of media and film and books and video games, and so on and so forth, and yada yada
Right.
yada.
I think that's why it was so hard to start this podcast too, because we had the idea of it, what we wanted to cover, but the structure of it, like, not at all. And that's because I think it's based so heavily on the way our conversation naturally flows together.
Yeah.
Because we talk all day, every day, except for, when we're scrolling or, just taking a moment of silence. But I think that's why it was so hard to pin it down, but I'm glad we got to sit down and really talk it out.
Yeah. And going forward, I think, too, I'm going to, try and mix it up a little bit with, the topics and the subjects. And right now it was just kind of off the hip. Next time it might be a little more arranged, but I kind of enjoy just talking, and I'm sure other people will enjoy listening to our nonsensical rambles.
Yeah. I think what I'm looking forward to the most with this podcast and with Empress too is working with other people. I can't wait until we get to that step. So tell a friend, share us.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Because to talk or to speak with other people who are involved in entertainment and in media, publishing, all of that, just anyone who creates is just absolutely essential, because you don't want to hear just two opinions on something, right? You don't want to block yourself off from the stream of your colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's beneficial to share something like this with the community, so I can't wait for that. I can't wait.
And that'll hopefully be sooner than later.
Yeah.
I don't think any sooner than us getting better microphone equipment.
No! Listening to Empress Pack, I was very proud of us after listening to the first episode of Empress, but I was also like, I got these microphones from TikTok. You can kind of tell, they're not the greatest, but all of those things come.
It took a work of God to get that audio file when I was editing. It was tricky to get it sounding the correct way, and even then, but it is what it is when you're trying to start out.
Give us a little bit, guys. These are our first podcast episodes. We're gonna get it right.
Got the little $20 microphone.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, better equipment is on the list.
Absolutely. You can follow us on Instagram at Slayer Publishing, at Empress Fiction, or you can follow me too at Author Arian for all these updates on our stories, on podcasts, the whole 9 yards. If you just want to say hello, you absolutely can. We do story announcements there. We really just want to engage in our community. I think that's the most important part of us all. So
yeah, at the end of the day, like I said, amongst all of our ramblings, I think the point that we're really trying to get across is that Slayer, for me, for you, and what we hope for the community is that it really does just become a centralized space of existence for creative minds, be it for books, for film, for photography, for video games, script writing, whatever. It should be, and what I'm hoping it becomes, is just a real open space for creatives to interact with each other.
So you can go to SlayerPublishing.com. We have all of our book inventories there, ebooks, things like that. And you can also join our Discord there as well, and subscribe to our new...
We have a Discord?
We have a Discord. You know we have a Discord?
I didn't know we had a Discord.
Your girl is productive. I was not going to not let us have a Discord. We do have a Discord. Mm-hmm. And, just join our community. Subscribe to stay in the loop. And for some releases, we do have some pretty major discounts and specials planned. We can't mention too much, but if you subscribe on the website, you'll definitely get the first update and maybe possibly get some books for free.
All right, well, that just about wraps it up for this week. Catch you guys next time, either here at the Slayer podcast or on our other Empress podcast for stories and more. Hope you all have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you later.